Hello, I am back again. I realize it's been an awfully long time since I've done one of these videos. It actually kind of got out of hand, and I apologize for that. But life got really busy, and this is not what I generally. This is what I make my living doing. This is what I spend a lot of time doing, and so it really kind of fell into the cracks. And I'm going to try to be a little bit better about it. But realistically, these things are probably going to come in clumps. I've got kind of a clump to do right now, or in the next few days at least. And but we'll see how it goes. And anyway, but I do have some updates I would like to let you know about, just very quickly, and I'll talk more about these in other videos. But I do have a date for surgery. It is in March of next year, 2020. And it is in New York City at New York University Hospital. And so I will be up there at that point in time. We have a place to stay in New York. There are a lot of logistics that we have to take care of because my mother-in-law lives with us, and so we need to make sure she's taken care of too in the same time frame. So anyway, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. What I wanted to do though today was to, well, let me just stop real fast. The weird background is my daughter's bedroom. She actually doesn't live here anymore, but we've really never done anything with her bedroom, and so it's sort of left the way it was when she was in high school. So anyway, I wanted to be in a slightly different place, and so this is what I've got, and we'll see what happens with it in the future. But anyway, what I wanted to do is talk to you about something new that my therapist has started this year with me. Um, she has always been on me to try to use more feeling statements, which I thought I did fairly well. But she also, I mean, as you can, if you've looked at some of the previous videos I've got, you'll know that I'm somewhat analytical, and so being kind of analytical, there's a real tendency not to be a real feeling statement person. And so for a very analytical person, I think I did a very good job of talking about feelings, but she wanted me to be a little bit more into that. So what she did, she gave me an exercise right after the first of the year, and it is this little chart called How Do You Feel Today? And you've got all these little emojis on it. Now this is actually a daily chart today, you know, but I fill it out on a weekly basis because I've been doing this. I've been doing it for this year so far, and there are feelings that I feel like I have that aren't on the list, and so I tend to write them under here. Um, and then I just put the numbers of the day by the emojis, and it's complicated. So I'm sure I've overthought it. And I found this really useful because it sort of got me back into, you know, what am I feeling today? What am I feeling today? Um, and then, but things like anger are not here. And so the idea is that if you're angry, what are the other emotions that are tied into that? Are you angry because you're hurt? Are you angry because you're frustrated? Are you angry because you're scared? I mean, those are all reasons why you might be angry. And so it was kind of one of these things of trying to get you to think a little bit more thoroughly on your feelings. And I certainly found the emojis helpful for that. But one of the other things she started doing after about a month of this is she asked me to start writing I feel statements. And so I turn it over on the back and I do the thing with the numbers and do all these things. And so, for example, I mean, they can be really very basic things. You know, I've got one here, I feel cold in the morning. Well, okay, I woke up, it was a cold morning. I felt cold, you know. So it's a legitimate feeling, you put it down. Um, But there are also things in here. Let's see. I've been feeling stressed since this will be a long day. I think that it is feeding into my feelings of sadness. And this is the type of thing that I'm trying to get to. You know, is that starting to see the connections between your feelings. And so the I feel statements are really sort of, I found really helpful for that. But there's another thing that's I think a little bit more profound, at least for me, that these have really touched into. That as a transgender person, I've talked about this, I believe, in some of the other, where I talked about the male facade. I'm changing the male facade to the male twin, and I've got reasons for that, and I'll talk about that in a separate video. But so from now on, I'll talk about it as the male twin. But there's this real sense of living your life through the male twin, if you will, and so there's this real tendency to focus on what the male twin is doing, or how the male twin is interacting with you, or and there's less of this real sense of yourself as a separate being, as someone who has their own feelings. There's sort of the sense of, attributing the feelings to the male twin, when actually they're your feelings. And so it gets kind of, doing an I feel statement sort of separates the male twin away. At least I've found that that's happening for me right now. And it could be because of the therapy I've had, of where I am in this transition journey. But for me, this has been a very powerful way of getting me sort of centered back into, who I am as Anita, saying that, okay, you're sort of dealing with a very male appearance, perhaps, of who Anita is, but I don't have to deal with that. I can deal with the interior life that Anita has, and Anita's emotions, which are my emotions. I get to talk about my emotions. I get to own my emotions. I feel. And I really didn't realize the power of that until I started doing this on a regular basis. And so I really wanted to just sort of talk about this very briefly. I try to keep these videos a little bit shorter than what I've done in the past. I mean, they've been way too long, frankly. And so I'm going to stop here with this. But I do think this is, if you're a transgender person, you're struggling with the same thing I was struggling with, in terms of really trying to get a sense of who you really are. I think this may be a helpful way of going about it, in terms of getting yourself to the point where you go, I feel, because for me, it's really helped grow that sense of self, that sense of me as being someone who experiences the world, who feels, who emotes, that's not connected to the male shell that everybody seems to deal with. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I hope that everything is going well with you. And I will probably dump a fair number of videos in the next few weeks. And then I may disappear for a while. So if you subscribe and you push the little alarm button, then it'll let you know whenever I post again. So I do appreciate you watching, and thank you very much.